Hey everybody, it's great to be back after like a month off from doing really hardly anything fitness. I had septo slash some rhinoplasty surgery to correct a broken nose and nasal deviated septum about tomorrow will be 1 month. So tomorrow will be 1 month since the surgery. So I'm still very congested. I'm still very swollen through here, but I am super grateful that I am upright and the bruises are almost gone. I'm kind of camouflaging them with a little bit of makeup. But if you'll bear with me, if I don't sound like myself or certain words sound a little bit funny when I pronounce them, and it's just because my nose is still really swollen, especially on the inside, and then there's congestion, which naturally happens when you catch a cold or you injure your nose. It's there, the mucus is there to protect you. So I have to deal with that for probably a few more weeks or maybe even a few more months. The reason that I'm coming with you today is that I had somebody ask me about, what could they do now that they're back in the office, not working from home quite as much. What could they do to kind of maintain activity and take good care of themselves and kind of feel like they're staying on track, prevent injuries. And there's a couple things. I got to grab one item real quick because there's a couple things. I'll call it housekeeping. So I'll call it housekeeping, but it's for your self-care. And the first thing that is important in order to prevent injuries or just tightening up is really important for you to make sure that you're getting plenty of water. Remember that we are 80% water ourselves as a living being. And so if you're not hydrating yourself and your muscles get depleted of the water, they can get injured easily. You move, they tear. Rather than being pliable and moving with you, if they're not hydrated properly, that you could end up with an injury, you could end up with a tear. So I want to make sure that that's the first thing I mentioned. The second thing is your setup. So we're going to talk a little bit about ergonomics first, okay? And then we'll go into some different activities and movements that you can do. So you're sitting in a chair, you're in an office chair quite a bit, and hopefully it's a comfortable chair. If it's not, that would be one thing to address right away with your company or business that you're working with, is to make sure that your chair feels good, because you're going to be sitting in it for quite some time. But there's a lot of other options out there. That you see that I'm sitting on a ball, and my ball needs a little bit of air. My son was having some really bad lower back issues, and so that was the first thing that he did to address the issues, because he was sitting so much, was to get a ball. And even though this is not exactly the same, this is a riser from a step, but they do create a round platform that your ball can go on. I myself prefer to have it free and moving so that I can kind of, as I'm typing, doing whatever I need to be doing, I can be kind of moving around and stabilizing, because stabilizing your core while you're sitting on a ball, if you're doing that throughout the day, you're going to burn probably an extra 100 or so calories just sitting, because you've got to activate everything so that you don't fall off. But if you want, you can put yourself onto your platform that comes with the office ball. I'm not going to stay on it, even though I like the height a little bit better at the moment, because really what you should look for is that your knees should be in line with your hips, because I don't have enough air in the ball. I have a bigger ball, but it's almost too big, so I'm not going to use that one. I don't have enough air in the ball, so I'm kind of in a bad position. But I just wanted to show that to you as one thing. Okay, so then along with that, your housekeeping, along with that is your desk setup. So typically you're going to want your screen up here, so you're not having to put your head down, and you're going to want your keyboard maybe a little bit lower, so that you're not here trying to type, okay? Because then what happens is that we hike our shoulders, we round our back to get into position, and then we start to cause office syndrome. A lot of different back issues, neck issues, shoulder issues. So check that your desk is set up properly. And then I also, something that I did for my husband, 2 years ago, his birthday, a year and a half ago, so almost 2 years ago, but not quite. He was moving a lot more. He was trying to get in his steps, and he's like, I wish that my desk, my stuff wasn't down here so low, so I could just kind of be walking in place or whatever. And so I bought him as a surprise for his birthday, a stand-up, sit-down desk. Now I got him the whole desk setup that rises and lowers, and it's electronic. You can get them where you kind of pump it, use a valve or whatever, and you can adjust it that way. But I liked the electronic because it was quicker, and he could program it, so he could set it to where he wanted it to be. There also are desktop stand-up, sit-down desks that are really nice, and they will kind of like a little accordion thing on each side that will raise up or lower down. And it's nice too because then your keyboard can be lower than your eyesight for your visual part of what you're doing with your computer. So those are a couple things. Trying to think if there was anything else that I wanted to share with you. Seems like there was one other thing. It slipped my mind, but maybe it will come back to me before we are done. So we talked about water. We talked about your sitting position. We talked about your desk. So 3 housekeeping things that you can do. Oh, I know what the other thing, really important. Did you know that the longer you sit, the sooner you die? Okay, so even though you might go, okay, I'm going to work out for an hour a day, but then you're going to sit for 8, 10, 12, 16 hours, depending on like what your life is like, if you're if you have to drive or sit on a train or whatever to go to and from work. What I recommend, what is recommended, not just me recommending, this is a recommendation, is that for every 30 minutes that you're sitting, you get up and you move for 3 minutes, okay? So even if you have to set a timer, now obviously there's going to be certain times where you're in a meeting and the meeting's 2 hours long and you can't just like get up and start moving around for 3 minutes, but as much as you can program your life to make it work this way, if you are sitting a lot for your job or your life, is to get up every 3 minutes and move around. Walk around, and I'll show you exercises that you can easily do without any or hardly any equipment that you have to worry about in your office or even in your home. And so we'll start to address that. So let's get to it, okay? Are you ready for this? I'm going to move the ball out of the way just because I want to get myself into a little bit better height. So for right now, I'm going to use, because it's handy, my workout bench. Okay, so I've got my bench here. This is something that I used after my hip surgery because I needed to make sure that I was not sitting at 90 degrees all the time or less than 90 degrees. So this is it's not really, the original brand is called Dynadisc, but it's a wobbly disc and it's got texture. Let me show you here. So I don't like this on my butt, but maybe somebody else would. And then this is a smaller nubble here. Okay, so I sit on that quite a bit when I'm coaching or just doing some work, sitting on my chair or sitting on the bench or whatever. I will bring myself up, and because it's wobbly, and what I told you about the ball, about having to stabilize, you're going to be working your core a little bit more. Okay, so I have a couple things, and I might be sitting down and standing up a little bit, but a couple things that you can easily have in your office. There's other options besides this, but these are a couple things that I just happen to have handy here with me. I have one other thing, if I can get at it, I'll grab it too, I'll show you. Okay, so this is the exercise tube. I have handles on mine. You could also use the TheraBand, which if you've ever done physical therapy, it's a wider, thin band. There's different resistances. Just make sure it's long enough that you can actually, do some things with it. And then I also have, these can easily fit in your briefcase, backpack, your purse, your desk drawer, is a few different, and there's different strengths, but they're exercise bands. And these, for right now, for what I'm going to show you today, I prefer to use these, but there is a time and place for the cloth stretchy bands. Those tend to be a little bit more difficult to move, which is good if you're really strong, or good if you're going to be using your legs more, because your legs are typically going to have more range of motion and strength than maybe what we're going to do with our upper body. So I've got, and unfortunately they're not consistent. It depends on the brand, what colors will be. I think at first when they came out it was easier for us with our tubing in our band. We knew that, red was kind of a light medium, yellow was light, so it was, maybe red was a little bit stronger, more medium. Green was medium light. And then the same thing, I think, initially for these bands, but that's not the same anymore. Each brand has different colors for theirs, for like extra strong, medium, and light resistance, okay? So I've got a variety here, and then don't make it too hard to begin with. Sometimes more is not better, sometimes less is more. So the first thing I'm going to have you do is you're going to take your exercise band or your TheraBand. I'll show you one other option if I can get at it without moving too many things around. And I'm actually going to stand for this one because I think I want better range of motion. Hopefully you got me in the screen here. Okay, yes. All right, so I've got a hold of the band. I've walked my hands in a little bit with the tubing so that I can have better range of motion, but fuller range of motion, I should say. Okay, so make sure your body is set. You're going to roll your shoulders back and down. My feet are about shoulder width apart, and I've created a nice base. So you might want to kind of rock a little, or not rock, but bounce a little bit, and find where your center is. I roll my shoulders back, I set them down, the shoulder blades are kind of in those pockets back there, and my ears are aligned over my shoulders, at least in my mind from what I can see without looking into a mirror. I'm going to bring this band up, and I'm going to bring it around behind me. So just warming up and loosening up the shoulders. So these are a few exercises that'll be really good for you for office syndrome or anything in your life. Stress is carried so often into our shoulders and our neck, into our hips and our back. So this is really good. So maybe about 10 repetitions if you have time. Maybe you can do 3 sets. Now, can you do 30 in a row? Maybe, but I would, at least to start with, I would recommend that you do 3 sets of 10. Okay, so you've completed that. Then we're going to take this tubing, and you can sit or stand probably for this one. So our backs tend to get quite weak, and our chest muscles get quite tight. And so we want to help to strengthen our back and open up our chest a little bit. So this is a really good thing for your shoulders. Okay, so your elbows are at your side. I'm slightly out in a V here, and I'm going to open out and bring it back into start position. Open out. I'm squeezing through my shoulder blades. I will try to turn and show you. I don't know if there's any muscle definition left in me anymore after COVID and traveling and not being able to get to the gym, and then another surgery a couple of years ago. Well, exactly 2 years ago. So again, maybe depending on how that feels for you, it might only be 5 to 10 reps, okay? And then another one that I really like is to take the handle. So we're going to go with our right hand first. So the handle here, and I'm going to take a hold of the tube fairly close to the other handle. I'm going to hold it next to my body, and this hand is going to, so I'm holding it to my hip, and then this hand is in line with my navel and waistline area, and if it's too tight, then you just loosen up. If you've got too much resistance, just loosen up, move your hand away from the other handle, and I'm going to pull out to the side and bring it in. Pull out and bring it in. And again, probably just 5 to 10 reps of that one for each side. And then this next one we can sit down, I think, or you could stand if you feel like I need to keep standing because Phyllis said I need to stand and move for 3 minutes. Then go ahead and stand and do this. So now we're going to go with a little lat pull down, and I think I'll also take you into a reverse fly. So I'm holding the handles again. You've got to find the space that works for you and what works with the resistance of the band resistance that you have. We're going to bring it up overhead. I'm in a high V right here, so I'm going to bring my legs a little closer together. But you find what works for you. Just make sure your form is as good as you possibly can and continue to recheck it. Shoulders come down, I squeeze the shoulder blades towards each other a little bit. I'm going to engage my core, especially because I'm sitting on this wobbly disc. I'm going to reach out to the side, coming into a T. The band comes towards the upper part of my chest, just below the sternum, okay? And this is going to work the outside of your back, a few areas of the back of your shoulders. And as you come down, I want you to again squeeze the shoulder blades right towards each other. I even feel a nice activation through the outside of my chest just a little bit. And this one here, you might be able to do more reps. So you might be able to do, I would say, 10 to 15 reps. And if time allows, you could do 1, 2, 3 sets, okay? Or if time is short, just one set, and then in the next 30 minutes when you have a break, or later on in the day when you have a break, you do your 3-minute break, do it again, okay? All right, so that's another one. And then I like a nice little reverse fly with this, so I want pretty good length. I'm coming into a V parallel to the floor and ceiling. I'm setting my shoulders, I'm engaging my core. I'm gonna open out into a T here. Feel my shoulder blades coming towards each other, squeezing, and I don't come in where there's slack. I maintain some resistance, and again, this one sometimes is kind of hard for me. I feel this one very much, and so I'm only going to do, maybe I'm only going to do 8 to 12 reps with this, or maybe I'm having a good day and I think I can do 15. Just remember, if you're just starting, don't go overboard. Maybe do the lower part of the reps, even though you feel like you could do more. Keep it a little bit less so that you're not too sore for the next time that you want to try this and do this. Okay, so you had those exercises with the band, and now I'm going to grab, or the tube. Now I'm going to grab the band. This is one of my favorite things to do is I'm going to put it on my wrist, and I'm putting it just above my watch. My arms are extended. I'm resetting my shoulders again, and I'm going to put a little bit of resistance on this, and I'm going to pull it below the chest, kind of just above the belly button, below the chest, elbows probably, as I come out, first of all, my hands are either in line with my shoulders or slightly lower. They're not up here, because that puts your shoulders possibly into a little bit of a precarious position. We want to be aware of what might injure us as well. Resistance is on by just opening those arms. And my hands are in, what I wanted to say before was my hands are pretty much in line with my elbows. Okay, I keep the resistance on. I'm squeezing through the shoulder blades. Good. And we do 5, 10, whatever, 12 reps, whatever you think you can do with that. And one of the things that a lot of people say is my arms are so, flabby and soft, and I don't like it, and I want to tone my tone. We don't really use the word tone anymore, by the way, but that's what we are so programmed to say. So we want to get our arms looking a little firmer, less wiggle, less jiggle. So what I would do with this, I'm going to take this band in the palm of my hand, and I'm going to take the other palm down. So the top one is up, the bottom one is down. I'm going to take it to my shoulder right here, and I'm going to do a little tricep kickback. Let me turn slightly to the side so that you can see this. I'm kicking back, and I'm bringing it up no higher, either no higher than 90 degrees, but I'm not quite coming there, because if I do, the resistance turns off. Okay, because of the band, I don't have any resistance on the band. So I'm keeping the resistance dialed in. Again, you do you. You might be like, I need that break for just a split second, mind you, Phyllis. So I'm gonna take it. Okay, and again, however many reps, up to maybe about 12 or 15, and you can do 1, 2, 3 sets, whatever works. And then what about our biceps and maybe our legs a little bit? So I'm gonna go back to this guy right here. I'm gonna push the bench all the way back. Okay. All right, so I'm back to my band, my tubing. And bicep curls, I can stand on the tubing. Now, both legs on that tubing, and the wider I take my legs, the less tubing I have, which means that I have more resistance. So maybe I don't want that. Maybe I just want light resistance. So I'm just gonna take 1 foot forward, sitting. Make sure that that's under the arch of your foot and stepping back. And I'm gonna go into a bicep curl with my tubing. All right? Maybe that's easy. And I say, well, I can do more than that. So I step on the tubing. And here we go. And I find with the tubing, I can do a lot of repetition versus the dumbbells. You can play with your tempo really slow to make it hard, but maybe you want a little pump at the end and you're just gonna do little top halves quicker. So you can play with it, but don't always do fast, okay? So oftentimes I see people in the gym on machines or with free weights, and they just pump through those exercises really fast, and they're really using momentum and not using that muscle as much. So you want to put your mind to your muscle and make sure that you're actually getting better results out of it. So now I'm going to step on it again. And always check your band and your tubing to make sure that there's no cracks or breaks in them. And it happens, especially here for me with the weather being so hot and humid, things kind of fall apart and crumble real fast. So I'm bringing this up to my shoulders, but you could just hold it up to your hips if you're taller than me or your band is shorter. And I am setting up my feet shoulder width apart. I'm just gonna sit down and rise up. I squeeze my butt just a little bit at the top, down and up. Maybe you only have time to do 1 or 2 exercises that I've shown you, and then a little bit later in the day, you're gonna do a couple more. Okay, you'll pick up and you'll be like, okay, now I'm gonna do these. Okay, and again, maybe anywhere from 8 to 15 repetitions, 1 to 3 sets, whether it's, you know, in that 3-minute time frame, or you've got a half-hour lunch, or you're taking a little break a little bit later. Okay, and those are the exercises I'm going to show you for today. Okay, and then I'll come back on and I'm going to use the office chair for another video. We'll use the office chair or your desk or your door or your wall to be able to do some other exercises. Now, mind you, if you're using your door, you either want to lock it so somebody can't suddenly open it and then you fall over or get banged in the head, or put a sign up, you know, whatever is in progress, please do not enter. You know, so that I had that happen one time. I don't remember what I was doing. I was doing TRX, I think, and my husband opened the door. I have a TRX on the door in my corner over here, which maybe I'll show you on one of the other days. But, and I was like, whoa, thankfully he opened it slowly because he didn't know if I was on a video and he didn't want to just like pop in the middle of a training session with a client. So he opened it just a little so I didn't fall. But I did kind of wobble a little bit and I had to catch myself. Okay, so that's it for today. I will plan to see you very, very soon with more things that you can do in your office or at home. You know, maybe you're retired and you find that you're sitting a little bit more, or maybe you're like I was, where you're coming out of injury or surgery and trying to move slowly, but your doctor's maybe not giving you permission to move as intense, or you're retired, like I said, and you're like, I am just gonna chill on the couch because I have not been here in so long. So anyway, okay. Take really good care of yourself, and I will talk to you very soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.